how many people do you think will take up the offer of the delayed resignation from the Trump administration?
From what I can see, agencies where are going to be closed down, those are the ones where a number of people are going to take it.
Hmm.
Um, the bigger interesting thing is they're talking about offering early retirement and dropping
Mhm.
the age from 20 years down to 15 years. If
Mm.
that happens, there are going to be a lot more people who will get on the bus and leave. I would
Mm.
say easily 10, 15%, which for any agency would be crippling
Yeah.
because the ones leaving are going to be the experienced ones.
Mhm.
You can't just walk in and do a federal service job off the street. For example, to be a BLS data collector, you have to have 3 to 5 years working in a job before you're considered a journeyman. An MSHA mine inspector is 3 years. An OSHA
Mhm.
compliance officer is 5 years. You just can't replace that by just saying it's not, it's like they think it's the 19th century and they can bring anybody in because these jobs are
Mm.
all the same. They're radically different, highly specialized, and it's a shame that whoever is behind this didn't take the time to do their homework.
Mhm. Tell me a little bit more about what the consequences would be of not only the deferred resignation, but if they do lower the age limit to resigning and still getting your benefits to 50, the early retirement.
Right. The consequences would be the mission of the agencies would probably start to fail.
Hmm.
Keep in mind, agencies, they say they gave them a flat budget, but agencies were expected to make up any pay increase out of that flat budget. So it means over the
Hmm.
last 10 years, agencies have lost about, in the Department of Labor, have lost about 18% of what they had 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So don't have the resources to do adequate training when you bring these people in.
Hmm.
You basically what's going to happen is in a mine and mines, a new mine inspector will miss something, a miner could get
Hmm.
injured. An ocean inspector may not be able to get to some place that they need to get to. Keep in mind also for OSHA. Yeah, I'm from BLS, so I'm a statistics wonk, so I apologize.
Hmm.
But in order to visit right now with the staff we have, in order to visit every company in America would take what, 12,000 years?
Hmm.
Because our OSHA staff is so small.
Hmm.
And there's even a bill out there I just saw today to eliminate OSHA,
Oof.
which of course is ridiculous, but be that as it may, the consequences basically will be the people of America will not get the services they deserve or they need. And this is not just from Department of Labor. This is across the board. It could even have an impact on defense
Hmm.
and our ability to maintain our defensive readiness.
Hmm. So let's focus on Department of Labor first. I think many Americans don't understand what the Department of Labor does and what would be the consequence of cutting it back. I'm sure some of the people working for the Trump administration, like Elon Musk, they don't really care too much for an outside organization inspecting to make sure that there is worker safety. And mine operators who are working in the Trump administration right now don't care so much about mine inspectors. Tell me what people would experience, what Americans would experience, what would taxpayers experience concretely as a result of, let's say, OSHA, many OSHA inspectors taking early retirement or that early resignation, whatever it is. What would be their consequence? How would that impact them?
Consequence would be that when somebody calls in on an emergency, because that's what with OSHA, they will call in and say, we need to get a compliance officer out here because it's an unsafe working condition. They won't
Hmm.
have the resources to do it.
Hmm.
Worse, they won't have trained resources. So it's not just reducing the body count. It's reducing the amount of people who have the experience to go in. And for example, look at a trench and know
Mhm.
whether or not that trench is safe.
Mm.
So that's one consequence. The mines, we're already had deaths in mines for the last 2 to 3 weeks. And that is a record that we hope this administration will pay attention to
Mm.
and realize these are real people going down in the mines. And MSHA has a really good record because they have to inspect 100% of the mines each year.
Mm.
They won't be able to do that. Or if they do it, they will have to do a cursory investigation or inspection. Things will be missed. Miners will be hurt. These are workers, American workers. But the rest of the department, we're really an amalgamation of a lot of
Mm.
different things that didn't seem to fit anywhere else. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they're the people who keep track of inflation, unemployment
Mm.
statistics, and other various statistical stuff. And there are literally trillions of dollars of economic decision making that rides on the
Mm.
data that BLS puts out, which up until now has been neutral. If you get BLS to start hedging the data, you won't be
Mm.
able to depend on it, and that will cause economic decisions to go awry.
Mhm.
And it'll be huge. The variances will be too huge. You have wage and hour, which enforces child labor law to make
Mm.
sure that companies aren't employing 12-year-olds and worse, 12-year-olds in unsafe working environment.
Mhm.
You have OWCP, which is Office of Workers Comp program. Now, this one, they would probably go, because it's workers' comp for federal workers. Okay.
Mm. I see.
But it's still there. I mean, there's 2
Mhm.
million of us, and we get injured, we get hurt, and we should have something that covers us. And if they didn't exist, they would have to go to have that referred to someone else who would be overloaded. You have the Office of Federal Contract Compliance, which you want to eliminate because they mix up discrimination with diversity. Two
Mm.
different things. You can be like me, an old white male, and discriminated against. You could be, as I was pointing out earlier today, an evangelical Christian and be discriminated against. And all
Mhm.
OCCP does is make sure everybody who wants to apply for a job is given a fair shake. That's it.
Mhm.
No bias. Not the same as saying we're advocating this one group over another group. You have, and I always we do an acronym abuse. I apologize. ETA was that Employment Training Agency, because I always know it as ETA. They go out and they give grants to states to train new workers up so they can
Okay.
go into the
That's important.
workplace. That's
Mhm.
important. EBSA, they're the ones that back up the pension plans that the private sector walks away from and
Mm.
hold those corporations accountable. And they have moved now into health services. Those are kind of the big ticket stuff that we do.
Mhm.
And there's 26 agencies. Those are the big ones, and they probably comprise about 90% of DOL. So
Okay. That's helpful. So let's talk a little bit about what it will look like, or what will people experience as a consequence of a combination of this deferred resignation, early retirement. We're talking about people, you're thinking 10, 15% of the people taking, and especially experienced ones. So what will be the consequence on the ability of the DOL to do its job? What will people actually experience?
it would vary from agency to agency.
Mhm.
For example, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, most people don't know about it. They know about the inflation rate. Well, I say we because I used to work for them. Uh, they do unemployment, but they also
Mhm.
measure cost of providing wages and benefits. They measure the difference between what a federal worker gets and what the private sector gets for the same job, which right now is 25% less.
Mm.
So you get rid of us, you bring in private sector contractors. Out the gate, you're going to have to pay 25% more
Sure.
plus 10% because they need to make a profit. Now,
Mhm.
they won't know anything, literally nothing. So there will be virtually no services or they'll be severely curtailed. So you'll be
Mhm.
paying a lot more for a lot less. Um, when you go to the say health and safety agencies, of course, workers are in trouble. What they also do is surface potential problems that are in the industry so that they
Mhm.
can be addressed either by the industry associations or by Congress if they have to sit there and pass a law to make sure they comply. Wage and hour. Omar, I'm going to punt that one to you because you're from wage and hour.
Mhm.
I think one of the big things, and Rob said it earlier, is the time to get someone experienced, that they have the knowledge to
Mhm.
be able to accomplish the mission that we have set on us. And able to do that, the mission, since we have so many laws that we enforce, it could take multiple years in order for us to gain that experience to actually enforce child labor laws,
Mhm.
agriculture violations, and contract residential, or is it commercial, where we also enforce Davis Bacon, and then the SCA laws where it's going to be government contracts.
Mhm.
So a great example is whenever they have anything that comes out that has H1 visas, H2 visas, that is wage and hour that is enforcing the employment whenever they're
Mhm.
actually working, making sure that they're being paid appropriately. So I think, in my opinion, what will be missed out is the experience to be able to do the mission in a timely period, like a period of time that
Mhm.
is acceptable, and to be able to actually accomplish it, to be able to get what taxpayers are paying for. And
Mhm.
then Rob mentioned this earlier, and I think that this would be an amazing opportunity. You're asking what we're going to miss out on, and there's one agency that I don't think anyone could speak better to than Aliyah, which is going to be for OFCCP, which just recently they shut down one of our executive orders that they enforce, which is 11246, which only leaves them with two programs that they're, or two laws that they're enforcing, which is Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and then also the Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment Assistance Act. And I
Mhm.
think, Aaliyah, this would be a great time for you to explain what we're going to miss out whenever it comes to your agency of CCP.
Thanks, Omar. The number one question for me is what is wrong with this administration that they've made public servants the enemy?
Mhm.
We're serving the taxpayer in their interest for services that the country has agreed on are good for
Mhm.
Americans: safety, fair wages, no discrimination. We're just implementing the laws that ensure these values. So when did we become the enemy?
Mhm. Yeah. What is the union doing to address this resignation, the early deferment, the early resignation, the early retirement? What are the steps the union is taking?
Well, on some issues, they've gone to court on the teleworking
Mhm.
part of it. Um, they've asked people not to participate in the deferred retirement.
Mhm.
They're not addressing the early retirement because that hasn't been proffered yet.
Okay.
That is just one of those rumors that's floating around right now.
Mhm.
I mean, part of it is you have to remember we've only been dealing with this for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and there's so much that's hitting us so quickly
Sure.
that I mean, every day we find something new. Now, a group of us, I mean, all three of us will be in DC next week to go on the Hill and talk to congressional reps and
Mhm.
try to explain to them, as Leah says, we're not the enemy.
Mhm.
Along with, doing other things like talking about how telework is actually, their plan is going to cost them a lot more
Yeah.
than if they just left it in place.
Mhm.
But fiscal prudence does not seem to be one of the things that they are
Mhm.
using at this point. They're just using straight ideology. And to address the part of what Aliyah said about we're not the enemy, I have relatives in Italy. And my mom went over there and told them that, well, I worked for the Federal Service, Civil Service in America, and they were impressed. They're going, only the best people work for the Civil Service in Italy. Why are we so denigrated? We are there to implement the will of Congress and the president. Okay, there is no evidence we've done anything to obstruct. Why, why are they doing this? And I will get off my soapbox here. I got one more thing. I took an oath to the Constitution. I did not take an oath to the President of the United States. My obligations and the obligations of my brother and sister on this call are to support the Constitution of the United States. We're not here for a loyalty test. And the founders were very clear. They did not want a king. And the loyalty test is what a king demands.
Yeah.
And I will turn it back over to you.
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you. It's definitely a very frustrating and upsetting situation in many ways, and I appreciate you taking the time to share about that. Are there any last words before we wrap up?
More than that, it's more than frustrating situation. This is the deconstruction of the American government. This is catastrophic.
Yeah, it's a good way of describing it.
I have one thing that I think we feel, just as Rob said, we came here to do our job. We took an oath of office. In our position, we said, we're here to serve the mission of our agency. And the most important thing to me is that my customer is the American people. Whenever I work, it's to help the people that come and place a complaint. We don't charge them. We do it for free. The services that we offer is based on they come in, the rights are being violated, the law is being violated, and we're administratively helping them. We're not a legal service that is charging them for their assistance or for their support. When we do things, we do it because we feel strongly about doing the right thing for the citizens that come into our offices and complain, whether they're military veterans, whether they're disabled, whether they're working in a field, it doesn't matter. And for the wage an hour, we enforce $7.25. That's the federal minimum wage. And sometimes having to look at someone and for them to say, I'll take whatever I can, I need it. It tears us apart. But again, it's the right thing to do because our customer is the American citizen. It's the people that are working in our country. It's the people that we look to help. And that is what we came here to do. Nothing more but our job, our mission.
Okay.
I just got one quick final thing.
Yes, please, Rob.
I worked for the department for 46 and a half years. I view that as serving my country. Okay. I didn't put my life on the line, but I dedicated my life, my whole life, to serving the American people and again, the U.S. Constitution. And the federal workforce is full of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, just like me, who believe in America and just want to serve it.
I believe it. Thank you. Thank you for your service, all, and I appreciate you taking the time for this conversation. This was very helpful.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Gleb.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.